What's going on, guys? Eric here and welcome to the channel. So, do you have old drinking glasses that are still perfectly usable, but they're just kind of beat up, scratched, kind of worn out looking? You don't want to get rid of them because they are still good and perfectly usable, but maybe you're embarrassed to serve guests with glasses that look like these. Well, if you have that and you don't want to get rid of your glasses, I'll show you how to breathe new life and new colors into those glasses using automotive vinyl wrap so they look something kind of like these. So in this video, not only will I show you how to make glasses that look like this, talk about how much it might cost you to do, about how long it takes, and how much you might be able to charge somebody if you wanted to do this as a service for others.
So before we get started on the walkthrough, let's go over the tools that you'll want to have on hand for this particular project. Starting at the bottom left, you see I have a couple of utility knives, which will be obviously used for cutting the vinyl as you need. Above that, I have a measuring tape to measure out your vinyl pieces or a piece that you might want to have or need on hand. You can see that I'm resting all these items here on a cutting mat with a measurement grid, so you can use something like that if you happen to have it. Continuing up, you see I have a wrap glove, which basically helps your hand or your finger smooth out vinyl a little bit more easily than if you didn't have one on that, a glove on your hand. Below that are just some micro squeegees, which are tucking tools for getting into tighter areas when you're tucking vinyl. Below those are just regular size squeegees with felt buffers on them. That black one down there also has a layer of Teflon tape, and that's just another buffer of sorts to help smooth down vinyl quickly. To the right of that, I have a heat gun. You'll want to have a heat source. I'm using a heat gun often. I also do use a torch, but that's a little bit more advanced if you're not using comfortable using a torch or with open flame. I advise don't use that. If you don't have either of those, you can use a hair dryer. Just be aware that a hair dryer does put out a lot of air, so your vinyl might move around on you as you're trying to warm up the vinyl. And then above that is just a toolkit that you can attach to a belt, which is handy to have on hand for having easy access to your tools. All right, guys, so getting started here, you can see I'm pointing towards this product called knifeless tape that I applied to the top edge of the glass, and then that bottle is just alcohol and water, which I use to clean the glass surface thoroughly. The knifeless tape, later on, you'll see the roll is off to the left of the screen there, is just for cutting the vinyl a little bit later. It just makes things easier. You don't have to use a knife, and I can trim it out nice and evenly across the top of the glass there. If you don't have it, you can just certainly use a knife. And so now that everything has been set up and the glass is clean, you can see I'm going to go ahead and apply the vinyl or line it up to get ready to apply. Start to peel the backing paper. This is Vivid Premium Plus Ultra Gloss Candy Purple. Very nice looking film. And you can see there I'm just starting by tacking on a line of the vinyl there, and then I'm just going to start to kind of roll the vinyl and kind of give a little bit of tug to keep a nice little amount of taut tension on there. And as I go along the vinyl, the glass, kind of rolling it, you can see I'm smoothing it out, making sure that I press it down very firmly and that there are no trapped air bubbles as I go along. Notice that the shape of the vinyl, as it goes over this conical shaped glass, ends up with some weird excess on the tops and the bottom. So make sure that your piece is big enough when it does curve around that you can cover the top and the bottom. What I'm getting ready to do here is I'm going to peel off some of a clear protective cap that's on this vinyl, which you would peel entirely later. And I'm going to apply some knifeless tape there on that seam because that's going to be an overlap. I'm putting that there so I don't have to cut it with a knife and risk cutting through both layers of vinyl. If you're handy with a knife and you have good control, you can use a knife certainly. This just gives you a nice clean, even seam. And you also don't risk cutting through both layers of vinyl there. Going to take my heat gun or whatever heat source you happen to be using and just kind of go over all the surface of the vinyl. Make sure there's no trapped air bubbles. Smooth it out if you find it. If you need to lift up the vinyl again, you can, or poke a hole in it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull the knifeless tape. Basically, you break away the green tape from the carrier, the filament that's inside of it, and you just pull that string straight through the vinyl, and you can see that it cut right through it nice and cleanly. And then the next thing to do is I'm just going to peel off the excess vinyl and pull out the green carrier tape that's left behind. So what I'm doing there is I'm going to peel off the excess vinyl that's been cut. And so you can see I'm struggling a little bit there. It's also peeling off some of that black plastic carrier. And then I'm also going to take out that green carrier tape next. Go ahead and take off the rest of that plastic carrier or protective cap, excuse me, not carrier, because it's kind of just getting in the way now. And then I peeled off the rest of the green carrier tape that was left behind. Next up, I'm just going to trim off some of this excess vinyl that's across the top there. And then I'm going to go ahead and get ready to pull the knifeless tape that I had along the top rim. Because I'm just lifting up one of the ends there. Make sure you get the end that doesn't, if it overlaps, that you're not going to pull out the one that will cut the other end of your knifeless tape. What I'm doing there is, again, heating the edges there to make sure that my vinyl is sealed down nice and tightly over the knifeless tape, so that when I do pull the knifeless tape to cut it, it's a nice, good, clean, even cut. Breaking away the filament from the carrier, as you can see there, pulling it around, and then I'm going to peel off the excess vinyl, and then I'm going to take out that leftover green carrier tape, and then seal down the edges that was under the carrier tape, or over the carrier tape on top of that. If I do have any left over, I can use my knife to kind of pick it up a little bit and pick out any pieces that might be stuck or broken out there, and then you can put that vinyl right back down. Taking out, in this case, the other half of the carrier tape that was left underneath the rim there. At one point, I believe it did break in half, so I have to go get the other part of it, which is what I'm getting at right now. Peeling that out, taking it out, and then once all that green carrier tape is taken out, I can put all that vinyl back down and make sure my edges are sealed nice and tightly. Very, very important to make sure that your edges are sealed very tightly, so that no water or liquids can infiltrate and get underneath the vinyl, causing bubbles. And on the bottom side, since I didn't put knifeless tape there, I'm just going to use my knife, putting the side of my blade against the bottom edge of the glass there, using that as kind of my guide for cutting. And you can see you could do this on the top side. I just use knifeless tape up top, to give myself just a little bit of extra space towards the bottom, and making sure that my cut is a little bit cleaner. Towards the base, I'm not too worried about that, but I also do want to make sure after I finish cutting that it is fully sealed down so that there's no way water or other liquids can infiltrate or get underneath the vinyl. And so basically this pint glass has been fully wrapped. You can see I'm just going over everything again with heat, making sure everything's sealed down. Make sure you seal that and press down and seal that seam that you created earlier on. And this is, for all intents and purposes, a renewed glass using vinyl wrap.
Alright guys, so now that the walkthrough tutorial is over, let's talk about how long this project took to do, about how much it might cost you, at least the material costs, and then if you wanted to do this as a service for others to charge a small fee, how much you might be able to consider charging a customer or client to do the same thing to renew their glasses using automotive vinyl wrap. Okay, so let's talk about how long this project took to do. It actually is a very quick and easy project to do, as you saw in the walkthrough tutorial portion. For actually applying the vinyl itself, it took me about 7 minutes roughly, taking my time. I did have the video in kind of advanced or sped up time, so it was a little hard to tell in particular, but looking at the original footage, if I take away some of the setup time, etc., about 5 to 7 minutes roughly for applying the vinyl. Pretty easy, pretty simple to do. Total job time, you'll probably take a little bit more time than that. You'll take maybe a minute to clean the glass, dry it off properly, maybe a minute to set up that knifeless tape if you like to use that. So roughly you can have everything done in about 10 minutes or less, depending on your skill level and the setup that you do, and if everything just goes basically according to plan. Okay, so how much does a project like this cost to do? So I did one glass and using a piece of vinyl. So we'll just talk really about the material cost. We'll just for now not talk about costs to buy a hair dryer or a heat gun or squeegees, etc., etc. Let's talk about the material, the vinyl itself used for this project. So you can get, and I'll have links in the description, a 1 foot by 5 foot long piece of this particular vinyl. Again, it's Vivid's Ultra Gloss vinyl. For $12 before shipping if you go to like Amazon, for example. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free shipping, so $12 for a 1 foot by 5 foot roll. Turns out to be, if I did my math correctly, for that's 5 square feet, 1 by 5, at $12. So that's roughly $2.40 per square foot used. Don't remember the exact dimensions, but probably 1 foot, a 1 foot by 1 foot piece should be more than adequate for covering a standard size pint glass. That's actually probably a little bit overkill. But for the sake of this, let's just say a 1 foot by 1 foot square piece off of that 1 foot by 5 foot roll. So at about $2.40 per square foot off of that roll, the material cost only costs you $2.40. So for a very, very cheap amount of money, you can basically give your glasses, your pint glasses in this case, a really cool new look. And you could basically pick any kind of vinyl you want to use. You can do Vivis Ultra Gloss, you can use other brands, you could do textured vinyls such as like a wood grain look if you wanted to, for example, or maybe even something like carbon fiber, or maybe a printed vinyl that has maybe a galaxy or things like that. And then the cool part about using vinyl for this particular project is that when you're done or bored with it, you can go ahead and peel that vinyl right off, clean the glass off, and then put a new different color, different pattern, different shape, different print on your glass. Okay, so now let's talk about how much you might be able to charge a client or a customer if somebody approached you, saw your glasses, and said, "Hey, can you do something like that for me?" How much might you charge that person or client to do this service for them? So a couple things that you'll have to consider. Are you a business, or are you doing this kind of just as a hobby on your own? Maybe you're doing it for a friend. If that's the case, if you're doing it for a friend, maybe you just charge the material costs and call it good. So, you know, in this example, it costs about $2.40 per glass to do, presuming they're going to give you the glass to use. And so times four glasses, whatever that ends up being, just have your friend pay for the materials, or give you the material to use. Recommend something that you're comfortable using, so they don't give you some random off-brand that may be very difficult to use, or something that's not a higher quality, etc., etc. But if you're going to do this as a service for, say, just a random client, so you already know your material costs, and the time is going to take you about 10 minutes to do. That includes some cleaning and prep, setup with the glass, and then actually applying the vinyl, and then making sure everything is done, sealed up nice and tightly. So about 10 minutes per glass. And so let's say you get a set of four glasses, and your material cost is going to be about $2.40 per glass. Other things to factor in on top of that. How much is your time worth? Is your time worth $20 an hour? And if so, it's going to take you 40 to 45 minutes to do this particular project. So do you charge material cost plus the maybe $20 on top of that? Is your time worth $50 an hour, $100 an hour? Those things are going to have to be taken into consideration. Also consider the market you're in. Is $20 an hour reasonable for your market, or is $100 an hour more reasonable for your market? And what will your market bear or allow? Because there's going to be a fine line where at some point you're probably, if you charge too much for your labor, $100 to do four glasses, somebody's probably just going to say, yeah, forget it, I'm not even going to bother with that. The other thing to consider is if you're doing it as a business, other factors like paying the rent or the mortgage for the building you're in, other shop supplies, the utilities. If you're doing this at home as just a project or a personal project for somebody, you don't really have that much to worry about, because those kinds of things are already taken care of as part of living in your house or your apartment or your townhouse or whatever you're in. So you don't necessarily have to consider that as part of the factor. So ultimately, make sure that your material costs are covered, and then that you charge a reasonable rate for your time to do each of these classes. That will determine how much you might be able to charge for doing this as a service for others. Alright guys, so hopefully this video has shown you that you can quickly and inexpensively renew or give some new life to some old drinking glasses that you might have around that you don't quite want to get rid of, because they are still good glasses to use, but maybe they just look a little bit worn for their age. One last thing about these glasses when you're caring for them is I recommend when you clean them just for hand washing, or to do only hand wash and not put them in the dishwasher. It's automotive vinyl, so it is pretty durable. It can take a lot of abuse to it. It is designed to be put on the exterior of a vehicle, after all. However, if you put it in a dishwasher, it's subjected now to a lot of high pressure water, for example, at a close range, high temperatures for an extended period of time. So all that pressure and high temperature can cause premature failure of the vinyl itself. So definitely recommend hand washing. Again, because it is automotive vinyl and it is removable, if it gets messed up, you can just peel off the vinyl, clean it off really well, and do it again. All right, so in this video, hopefully you've seen that through the walkthrough and through the costs and materials that it may be a fun, quick, and easy project for you to do. You might even be able to make a little bit of money on the side doing something like this for others as well. If you like this video, guys, be sure to hit that thumbs up button, giving it a like. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification button so that you get notices whenever I post new content to the channel. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Hope you have a great day.